Boy, them boy was throwing, boy.
Roach came up. Roach normally fights at 130. He came up to 135.
Hey, listen, they got a rematch. They got a rematch. That fight was good. And obviously, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of boxers come out and say, Tank lost. When I looked at the scorecard, I think maybe going into round 7, maybe 7 or 8, maybe 7, I think Tank was up on the score.
I expected to see a knockout. I expected to see it come at the hands of Gervonta Tank Davis against a dude that I thought was undersized, that I thought was not on the same level.
Roach is not just your average everyday opponent. Roach is a person who knows Tank, who's been around Tank his whole life. This is a different fight. You can't put Roach to the side.
ESPN analysts like Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp talked about the Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach rematch. They were surprised that the first fight ended in a draw instead of a knockout. They think the rematch will be more clear, and both fighters will make changes to show who really deserves to win.
I expected to see a knockout. I expected to see it come at the hands of Gervonta Tank Davis against a dude that I thought was undersized, that I thought was not on the same level. And my God, was I wrong. So I thought it was apropos that on this particular day, more than a week after Lamont Roach showed up at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, and let everybody know, yo, I'm no joke either. Y'all don't know who the hell I am. I'm here to reintroduce him to the world. A guy that many believe should be the lightweight champion of the world in the sport of boxing. The one and only Lamont Roach joins me right now.
Lamont Roach did really well in the first fight, showing great skills and a smart game plan. Even though the fight ended in a draw, he showed he can compete with the best. In the rematch, Roach has a chance to improve his strategy, using speed and accuracy to get a clear win. If he stays calm and makes a few small changes, he can take control of the fight. Learning from the first match will be key to proving he's the better fighter and winning without any doubt.
Match, that next game, what do you do that you didn't do the first time? Is that a valid question?
Well, I don't know if he pitched a shutout, but he definitely fought a perfect
game.
Perfect fight for him. For that fight, right? So above and beyond what we've ever seen from him, something that people who knew him and knew him personally knew that he has that in him, but being able to do it on the big stage underneath those lights, that's a whole different thing. He was able to do it. It was packed in there. It was 19,000. I was in the room. I mean, they were literally booing him when he was on the Megatron above the ring. So for him to walk into hostile territory, perform the way that he performed from beginning to end, I mean, I tip my hat. It was amazing. But in terms of pitching a shutout, I don't agree. It was a very, very close fight.
No, but what I mean by that is the perfect fight. Can he elevate from that?
Yeah. I absolutely understand. So in terms of can he elevate his performance? Yes and no. I don't think he can do anything that he was once he really found his rhythm better, because I think that was literally his catch and shoot, his rolling, his ability to catch those punches, his mindset when he did get touched, his ability to walk through. But I think he can be a little smarter in the way that he cuts off the quadrants of a 12-rounder. Understanding what a 12-rounder and how to fight a 12-rounder is a skill that takes time. You have to go 12 a bunch of times. You have to be world-class guys. Being able to be a little busier for early on to make sure that you understand that you are the B-side. You need to make sure these judges absolutely know without a doubt in their mind that you won that round. Being a little more aggressive early on, letting the hands go a little earlier, putting the exclamation on the points in the early rounds the way they did it the later rounds, I think will make a big difference in how he could actually improve on what he did the first time.
Stephen A. Smith said he was wrong about Lamont Roach and that everyone owes Roach an apology. At first, he thought Roach was too small to fight Gervonta Davis, but he was surprised to see Roach look and fight like the bigger man. Roach stayed aggressive the whole night, took Davis's best punches, and came right back with strong shots of his own.
It came right back. I'm believing him. I didn't see him hurt or anything like that. I get that part. I saw him hurt when he got popped with a counter from Lamont Roach, and he stumbled backwards because he got hit with a shot while throwing a punch in an earlier round. So I'm certainly not going to do that. Here's the important point to mention. All of us got to stand down and give Lamont Roach an apology. I thought that brother was going to get beat down because I saw a dude that was a bantamweight champion. I said, why are you moving up to fight this guy? Why is Gervonta Davis taking this fight? This guy's too small. What the hell is going on? He was a featherweight champion. You're a lightweight. What the hell is going on? Why would you take that fight? I didn't understand it. What I didn't know is that once Lamont Roach stepped into the ring, he would be the bigger fighter. What I didn't know is that once he was in the ring and he looked like the bigger fighter, he fought like the bigger fighter because, ladies and gentlemen, from opening bell, he walked right to Gervonta Davis. Walked right to him and stayed in his face all night long. If he backed up at all, ladies and gentlemen, it was 5% of the time.
In the first fight, Lamont Roach exposed Gervonta Tank Davis for picking easier opponents over the years. Tank has often been accused of choosing fights that match his strengths and avoiding tough challenges. But this time, that plan didn't work. Roach came ready and showed he wasn't an easy opponent. His discipline and smart strategy proved that Tank's usual way of winning wouldn't work against a fighter like him.
That fight with Tank and Lamont Roach shows y'all how protected Tank has been for the past several years. And the people saying, oh, Tank know Lamont and he been respected Lamont because they fought in the amateurs. Man, he was cherry picking Lamont, and really thought he was going to get that win. But Lamont wasn't coming to play around. He stood his ground and fought back. And to be honest, he won the fight. The rematch is going to be a knockout.
Shakur Stevenson talked about Roach's performance and said he followed his game plan really well. Stevenson had sparred with Roach before, so he knew how skilled Roach was. He believed in Roach's abilities so much that he even bet on him to win. While Tank is definitely fast, Stevenson said Roach's great defense was a big reason why Tank couldn't land as many clean shots, which made the fight very close and competitive.
We ain't both saying, that's something that y'all would do. You sparred Lamont before, right?
For sure, yeah. Actually, he was the one who got me ready for Oscar Valdez.
Oh, Lamont Roach did?
Lamont Roach was the guy who really got me ready for that fight.
What was the work like?
It was good work. Honestly, that was one of the reasons why I bet tonight, because I knew what I was in the ring with. Like, I knew that he wasn't no pushover, he wasn't no slouch. And when I seen that, I said, okay, when he fight Tank, I know that it's going to be the fight that I assumed it to be honest.
Hold on, because you was saying that, I ain't gonna lie, you was on Twitter been saying, you feel like, I don't know, if you didn't say Lamont was going to win, but you just kept making it you know what I'm saying? I don't even know what you were saying, but you kept alluding to Lamont was going to do something. So, you saying you seen this, the way the fight played out based on how your sparring session went?
I'm not going to say how the sparring session went just because of the fact that I'm a different fighter than what Tank is.
Yeah.
And it's like sparring and fighting two different things. But I knew what I was up against when I was sparring him. I knew the skill level. And I also, I watch boxing, so I go back and watch. And these guys go back and watch, and they looking like, okay, well, he was in front of this guy, so it was this, but styles make fights. And I know that Tank is shorter. He's fast, but Lamont got good defense. And I just knew exactly how that fight was going to go. I told everybody that Lamont was going to be the one pushing forward. Tank was going to be the boxer, and it literally looked exactly how I thought it was going to look.
How did you see the actual fight? Let's break it down, because you was ringside. You sat. I saw you on Twitter. They showed the videos of you ringside.
Stevenson also said that Tank's fighting style in this match wasn't very impressive. Even though Tank had a few good moments, Stevenson thought Roach did better overall. He said Roach was more accurate and steady with his punches, which made a strong case for him winning the fight. Tank might have landed some big shots, but they weren't enough to clearly take control of the match.
Winning, I really felt like he was in control of the fight. I think Tank had good moments, but I feel like when he was boxing boring, he was more so in control. That's when he was kind of in control of the fight for me. And when he kind of tried to fight, I felt like Lamont was on point.
A rematch between Tank and Roach is very likely, especially since Tank has said he wants to run it back. but it's not clear if that will be his next fight. Tank has other fighters he might want to face first, possibly to bounce back before taking on Roach again. Still, when the rematch happens, Tank will be determined to prove himself and take back control after being embarrassed by how the first fight ended.
Wilding like usual, right?
Yeah.
And the rematch, he'll be able to prove himself. I don't really believe there was a reason to call out a knockdown if you don't call Roach's shit a knockdown as well. They both was on the knee, pause. They both took a knee. So it cancels each other's out. It's either both are knockdowns or none. And neither are. So what we talking about?
Nah,
they definitely hate Tank. That part is a fact.
Nah,
I don't. I'm saying
not
in
saying
general.
us.
In general.
I'm just saying, like, couldn't wait.
He got to Mayweather level where people hate him.
When you do well enough, people look for you to.
Yeah,
that's good.
Success breeds that.
Yeah,
When you
that's a fact.
either they love you or they hate you. It's no in betweens. No longer indifferent for you because everyone knows you.
Jaron Ennis pointed out that people's opinions about Gervonta, Tank Davis's performance, are being affected by how they feel about him personally. Many fans already have strong opinions about Tank's personality, and that might be changing how they see the fight. Some are quick to judge him, ignoring how well he did in the early rounds and only focusing on the parts where he struggled. This has started a debate about whether the criticism is fair or if it's just based on personal bias instead of the actual fight.
About fights. Gervonta Davis, draw with Lamont Roach. People looking at it as controversial because of the whole knee. What'd you think of the fight?
It was a great fight. You know, I had it 7-5 Tank, or you can make it the draw. But I feel like Lamont, he did good. He did a great job, actually. You know, I just don't think he did enough to pull it off. You know, and I feel like people was overlooking what Tank was doing in the first like 5-6 rounds. You know, he was like boxing and frustrating him a little bit. You know, but Lamont, like I said before, Lamont did a great job. You know.
Yeah, some people had it Tank, some people had it draw, some people had it Lamont. Do you think Tank gets a lot of criticism for not knocking Lamont out and Lamont not being a big name, so they overblow it?
I think so, yeah, and I feel like people just don't like Tank to a point where...
It's also said that even though Tank didn't dominate like some, people thought he would. His strong start in the fight shouldn't be overlooked. A lot of the talk after the fight has been more about Tank's reputation than what actually happened in the ring. The rematch will give him a chance to quiet the critics and show that he's still one of the best fighters in his weight class.
Yeah, overblow it? I think so, yeah, and I feel like people just don't like Tank to a point where any little thing, just because he ain't knock him out, he probably feel as though that he lost, and he didn't, or it was a draw, you know. I feel like Tank was doing a lot of smart things in the beginning. Moving a little bit too much, but I feel like he was still like frustrating him and things like that. And I think Tank did a good job. Like, he looked sharp to me. And I don't know, people just be talking. You know, at the end of the day, you can't please everybody.
Legend Roy Jones Jr. shared his thoughts on the fight, focusing on Roach's skills and experience. Jones stressed that Roach is not someone to underestimate, as he has known him for a long time and knows how dedicated and talented Roach is. According to Jones, Roach has always had the ability to compete at the highest level, and his performance against Tank proved that. However, not everyone thinks Roach did enough to win the first fight.
Presumably, Tank is supposed to, win this fight. This is a fight that there's not a lot of doubt about him coming out victorious in. So the talk shifts, and we got to know, Roy, from your perspective, Tank Shakur. When you think about that fight being a potential fight this year, how do you see it going?
I ain't gonna really think about that yet because I'm waiting after he finishes his fight with Roach. Roach is not just your average everyday opponent. Roach is a person who knows Tank, who's been around Tank his whole life. This is a different fight. You can't put Roach to the side like that. I'm sorry. Now, I'm not saying that he's gonna win the fight. I don't know that, but Roach cannot be this underrated like that. You understand? You gotta understand that Roach came from basically the same ecosystem as Tank came from. Roach is a very formidable opponent. So I'm not gonna talk about none of that till we get by Roach, because what I'm telling you about the other stuff don't really mean nothing right now.
Okay, let me ask you this, because this did happen.
I'm feeling good always. How you doing?
I'm always good. You're a special fighter. Tank's a special fighter. What do you like about him? What makes him different?
I like that when Tank come to fight, Tank come to knock you out. Tank don't come to just beat you by decision. He come to take you out. He come to try to get the job done best way he can. And he loves to come there and entertain the fans. He's not there to play around. He's trying to smoke you. And that's what life's supposed to be about.
Gary Russell Jr. said that he didn't think Roach really separated himself from Tank in the first fight. In his view, Roach fought on the same level as Tank, but didn't do enough to clearly take the belt from the champion. Russell believes that to beat a fighter like Tank decisively, Roach needs to outbox him in a clear way, which he didn't fully do in their first match.
He's 100% correct. Personally, I had Gervonta Davis up a round, because whenever you have rounds where nobody's doing anything, I'm not just going to do what most people do, and especially people that don't like Gervonta Davis, which is just give the round to the other guy because Gervonta Davis didn't manage to knock him out that round. Okay, so this is Gary Russell Jr. clearly saying, man, no, I don't think Lamont Roach won that fight. You also had Al Bernstein, and Al Bernstein, I'm telling you, is a very, very straight, fair guy. Who I don't know if he was on that call, but he used to work with Showtime. I don't know if he was on there. I don't recall if I heard him. I think it was Rolly Ronaldo that was calling it. But Al Bernstein, who was a very, very objective person, said, hey, look, no. Sorry to break it to you, but Gervonta Davis won that fight. Yeah, Lamont Roach put up a really good fight, but Lamont Roach was not dynamic. He did not do anything to really separate himself from Gervonta Davis. He just kept it equal. He just tried to keep it even the entire fight. And that's not enough, again, to take the belt from the champion. Now, I do want to say that the people that thought that Lamont Roach won, I don't have any problem with that. I really don't have a problem with it at all. I personally, again, had a point for Gervonta Davis, but I could see how those swing rounds really could go, depending on who's looking at it, really could go different ways, right? But I had him winning. The Larry Hazard, who was the ref, who was calling it on the air.
Before they were trying to go off of what happened in the past, and that was the wrong answer.
Boxing
Lamont acting like he won and stroking his beard at the same time is super ironic.
Might have to face another opponent first before he gets back to the ropes. A good example of this is what happened with Garcia and Devin Haney, where an immediate rematch didn't happen because of other commitments.
We're in a situation where we're going to hopefully get a rematch. Gervonta already had something scheduled, or at least negotiated. And I think Lamont Roach was already entering negotiations with Shakur Stevenson to get it done, right? So Gervonta can exercise a rematch clause. He does have a rematch clause, but again, I just don't really know whether or not that is going to take place, whether or not that's going to take place next. And as I've said in other videos, they don't always happen next. Sometimes, like, for example, Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, they're not running it back. Devin Haney has not had a fight since he lost to Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia has not had a fight since he beat Devin Haney, and then he got it turned over with Osterine.
Tank's coach Calvin Ford also gave his insights into the fight. According to Ford, Tank was not entirely focused during the bout, which affected his performance. He also mentioned that Tank and Roach have a history which gave Roach an advantage. Roach's familiarity with Tank's style allowed him to anticipate and counter his moves, effectively leading to the close and controversial result.
Him take his game to another level. What didn't he do in this fight that that you felt he could have done and whatnot, and pretty much opened the fight up to it being a draw?
Well, like I said again, they've been knowing each other since they were learning. And Roach, he stepped up for the cause. He stepped up. You know what I'm saying? And again, Tank history, I always sit there and tell you, I don't like knockouts, I like punishment. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes things got to happen to make you get back to where you belong at. You know what I'm saying? And that was a good, skillful-ass fight. Skillful. Both of them want to take certain chances. Some of them take chances. You know what I'm saying? It was like we was on a boat and it was just like this,
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.